My name's Alex Daly, and I love telling people what I do for a living. I run Mana Game Store, which is a casual events parlor, which basically is all of this. I spend tons of time on geek stuff, on trading card games, role-playing games, tabletop war games, and it's amazing. Last night when I went to church, I ran into a lady who was really nice, and I met her, and she asked what it is that I did for a living, and I tried explaining to her what it is that I have going. And most of the time, people don't really understand. It's completely Greek to them and foreign. But as I started to explain that I do comics, that I do games, trading card games, she lit up immediately because she has a son who's into that, who moved to California and Hollywood. But growing up, he just had an interest in gaming. My campus pastor was there too, and he interjected and said, I had no idea that you did games or that you had your own game store. And so I took a second to do with them what I do with most people, which is I tell them about my passion about ministry and how gaming has shaped my faith. Gaming has given me a purpose in my life, along with my faith in God and Christ. And because of that, I focused my entire ministry around it. A long time ago, I spent time asking God, what is it that I'm supposed to do? Am I supposed to go to Haiti and feed hungry people? Am I supposed to go to Boston and help feed homeless people? And I felt like God called me to go into the gaming culture. He didn't tell me to go to Boston, to Haiti, to Sudan, to, Uruguay or anything that I was ready for. He told me to go to Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, all of these fantasy places and fantasy worlds. And I thought to myself, that is the last thing I expected God to really say. And the reason why that was is because when you grow up in church, you can't play these games. They've got witchcraft, they've got demons, they've got angels, they've got all of these things, and essentially they have an occult presence to them that the church just says they don't want to have anything to do with. But over time, God started to shape my heart and started to show me that people who are involved in these games that have a relationship with God are constantly shamed about what it is that they're passionate about and that they need somebody to go out and reach them. And that there's also an entire culture out there who doesn't have a relationship with God. Maybe they went to church, or maybe they've never been to church, but they know that they're not allowed to take their gaming culture into church because there are no Bible studies in church centered around Magic the Gathering. There are football Bible studies, softball men's breakfasts. You have fishing conferences and vacations for Bible school and other things like that, but you don't have anything that surrounds around the gaming culture. And so all of those people know that they're just not welcome at church. There's really just no place for them. They can go to church, but there's not a place carved out for them with a sign hanging on the door with their name on it. For me, my faith has helped shape my gaming, and my gaming has helped shape my faith. When I was younger, these games, comic books, superheroes, helped me not lose faith in a world that constantly told me to stop dreaming and get a real life. I would read in the Bible, and I would read about Jesus walking on water. And I would read about him healing blind people. I'd read about Elijah calling down fire from heaven. I would read about all of these amazing things like Daniel surviving in lions' dens, and Paul and all of these people doing incredible miracles. Samson with his incredible strength destroying a temple, and David and his mighty men of battle fighting bears in lions in pits in the middle of winter and killing thousands of people who were just horrifying. But in the real world, none of those things exist, and because of that, Jesus becomes another fairy tale. But for me, I would watch movies like Star Wars. I would read comic books like X-Men. I would play games like Fable. And it just spurred me on that there has to be something in this world of the supernatural that is real. There's a reason why people dream these things up. There's a reason why people dreamed of flight and then built airplanes. There's a reason why people spend all of their time bodybuilding and building up their muscles to be strong enough to pull a semi by themselves with a rope. There's just this urge in our lives. This is not just it. There's something more. And through growing up, reading the Bible became more real to me because of the comic books that I read. The Bible talked about men who laid it all on the line to fight for good in a world where everything was relative and they were scorned and ridiculed because of it. prophets who would go and tell people that they needed to turn away from their sin and their ways would be destroyed, while corrupt men with tons of money and terrible attitudes were just lifted up. And that's reflected in the comic book world. You have heroes that are disfigured, heroes that have abilities that came to them that they struggled with, that society really gave them a lot of rejection for having. And it made me relate to the things that I have. There are gifts that I have in my life that a lot of people reject and tell me were useless growing up, that I've since learned have helped me love people a lot. Reading comic books helped me believe in the supernatural. It helped me really wrap my head and not give up on the idea that Jesus is a healer, and that really one man can take care of and take on all darkness and sin and evil and crush it. You don't find that in a lot of other things, and that's why I believe a lot of people lose their way, is because we tell them to stop believing in fantasy, and then we tell them to have faith in the ridiculous. We tell them to stop giving into make-believe and letting their mind believe in silly things, that they can lift cars over their head and other things like that, and then we immediately put them inside of church and tell them that God can heal the fact that they can't walk, and give them their eyesight, that He can heal their marriage. We're told not to believe in the ridiculous, and then on Sunday morning, we're told to fully give ourselves over to the ludicrous. And it's a contradiction, and most people just settle on the idea of just not believing and being more rational. Nothing about the game world is rational, and it's really helped me throughout my life. Seeing these characters and playing these games has helped me understand that some people, like the Joker from Batman, are evil for the sake of being evil. And so I wasn't destroyed when horrifying people were abusive to me or stole from me. I knew that they were just broken, that the world wasn't evil, but that they were. Games taught me that you have a choice. You get to decide who you are. And whether or not people celebrate it or not, there will be a place and a time that only you and your gifts can save the day. And so it taught me at times when I was utilizing who I was as an artist, as a businessman, opening up a game shop during a recession in 2009 when everybody told me it was stupid. I knew that I needed to stick it out because I had read and grown up with stories where people with crazy dreams and unusual abilities had to stick things out against people who were just wrong. My focus is that God has really poured into my life and blessed me with gaming, and that God loves gamers. It's helped me believe in the supernatural, and it's been the reason why I've been able to see people get healed. It's why I pray for God to do impossible things. It's why I pray that God do everything in my life and that God would reach people who are completely lost, and why I've seen kids in our youth group who are completely abandoned over to a terrible life reached and changed by God, and why I believe that God can do anything and everything that you ask Him to do that's a part of His character and His heart. It's because I've spent all of my life stooped in the supernatural that comes with gaming. I've had a great deal of purpose, and games have taught me how to manage resources, how to build social structures, and how to stick with who I am. I build a ministry around being able to reach gamers because the church has given up. Instead of looking at gamers as people who are hungry for the supernatural, and that really we as a church need to offer something to those people, we just kind of tell them no. We spend less time teaching them about Elijah and Samson and all of these great figures in the Bible, and tell them really that they need to get a job and be more realistic. We're all excited about football, even though it leads to prostitution, drugs, tax evasion, and all sorts of scandals. And yet we sneer at kids who give themselves over to role-playing games because we believe that it can lead to bad influences. I've seen football and baseball lead to way more bad influences with kids who have gotten involved in it full-time than any game I've ever seen. I've seen more people waste money painting their house, painting their body, tattoos, crazy hats, supporting the Minnesota Vikings, the Denver Broncos, my favorite team, the Carolina Panthers. You'd never see a gamer getting that into their game. You never see a guy painting on his front lawn a giant sign and a foam finger for Wizards of the Coast. Magic the Gathering. And yet we spur all these things because we don't understand them, and we don't realize that we have a double standard. The true thing about gaming is that it builds community. It gives into the far-fetched and crazy. And one of the reasons that a lot of gamers really don't so much necessarily adjust to the world is because the world hasn't given them any platform to exist. We don't encourage gamers to use their creativity to solve problems. We don't give them over to art and creating. But the good thing is that gamers have kind of branched out on their own and fought for their own corporate agenda. And so you have video game industries that are making millions of dollars and internet gamers that are bringing hundreds of thousands of dollars home in tournaments, making them just as legitimate or more successful than even professional players. It's really cool to see what's happening. It's really cool to see that the world is bending its ear to fantasy. That the Avengers movie, not Casablanca, has one of the biggest box office openers of all time. That this December, when Star Wars comes out, it will crush every record that's ever existed because people are hungry for the supernatural. Part of my ministry is to get the supernatural into church, to tell the church that they need to make a way for gaming, and to tell gamers that they are no longer rejected or crazy or anything to be ashamed about. I'm excited for you to get involved in encouraging gamers, in your kids and your friends and your cousins, and even spend some time learning how to play these games and having fun with them so that you can open up a dialogue. One of the things my game store does is teaches people how to play games and gives them a place to come and connect. And I love it. God has a huge heart for people who have a hunger for the supernatural. And right now, the only thing the world gives them is a tainted, distorted, jaded view of what that really looks like. The demons and the occult is more powerful than angels and God. And in the end, people who are possessed by demons are just put in rooms with priests that shake a wooden stick at them, when in all reality, God is the most creative, powerful, overwhelming conqueror of love and peace and craziness that's ever existed. I encourage you to spend more time praying about this, to go to God and ask Him, to open up this world to you and see what it's about. And I'm here, so you can reach out to me with your questions. Mana Game Store is a passion. It's in Frisco, Texas. It's exciting, and it's a lot of fun. Jesus said that you won't enter into the kingdom of heaven unless you have a childlike, not a childish view, but a childlike view. And there's no better way to get a childlike view than to cover yourself in a bunch of nonsense and toys and fictional characters, and to just have fun a little bit, to take the edge off and enjoy yourself. I'm excited for you guys to be a part of this, and I hope it's talked to you and that it's giving you something to think about. You guys are awesome.